What if I told you that the way you see yourself could be the reason your relationships keep falling apart? That no matter how much love you give, it will never be enough unless you first value yourself? Most people think relationships fail because of bad communication or trust issues. But the hidden truth? Many relationships are doomed before they even begin because of low self-worth. When you don't see your own value, you accept less, tolerate more, and slowly lose yourself. In this video, we're breaking down how self-worth shapes your relationships, the silent ways it creates distance, jealousy, or emotional exhaustion, and most importantly, how to rebuild it. By the end, you'll not only understand your worth, but also how to protect it, strengthen it, and let it transform your relationships. Welcome to Wise Wellness, your place for deep insights into personal growth and relationships. If you're ready to change the way you see yourself and others, hit that subscribe button and stay with us till the end. Let's dive in. Before we talk about how self-worth affects relationships, we need to understand what it really means. Most people confuse self-worth with self-confidence or self-esteem. But self-worth goes deeper. It's the core belief about your own value, regardless of achievements, looks, or other external factors. Think about it. A person with high self-worth knows they deserve respect and love, not because they're perfect, but because they are human. On the other hand, someone with low self-worth constantly questions their value, measuring it by how others treat them. This mindset creates silent but powerful ripples in relationships. But what exactly shapes our self-worth? Childhood experiences play a huge role. A child who grows up feeling loved and appreciated develops a strong sense of worth. But if they face constant criticism or neglect, they start believing they are not enough. Over time, these beliefs become a part of their identity, affecting the way they connect with others. Society too has a sneaky way of messing with self-worth. Social media floods us with perfect-looking relationships, making us believe that love depends on being better or more desirable. The pressure to meet unrealistic standards slowly chips away at a person's sense of value. And then there's personal experience. A bad breakup, betrayal, or even repeated rejection can make someone feel unworthy of love. But here's the catch. Self-worth is not determined by others. It's something you build from within. Before we talk about the damage low self-worth can cause, let's look at the other side. What happens when you truly value yourself? When you have a strong sense of self-worth, your relationships transform. You communicate with confidence, express your needs without fear, and set boundaries without guilt. Instead of worrying about whether someone likes you, you focus on whether the relationship is actually good for you. Mutual respect becomes the foundation. People with healthy self-worth don't beg for attention or tolerate disrespect. They naturally attract partners and friends who appreciate them for who they are, not for what they can provide. And this creates secure, fulfilling relationships. Trust also grows stronger. Insecurity often leads to jealousy, suspicion, and constant reassurance seeking. But when you believe in your own worth, you don't need external validation to feel secure. You trust your partner, not because they've proven themselves, but because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way. Emotional balance is another key benefit. Instead of feeling like your happiness depends on someone else, you take responsibility for your own well-being. This prevents relationships from turning into an emotional roller coaster, where one person's mood controls the entire connection. But what happens when self-worth is missing? That's where things start to fall apart. Before we talk about how to build self-worth, let's understand what happens when it's missing. Low self-worth doesn't just affect how you see yourself. It silently shapes the way you love, trust, and connect with others. One of the biggest warning signs is seeking validation from a partner. Instead of feeling secure within yourself, you rely on their approval to feel worthy. This creates a dangerous cycle. When they praise you, you feel good. When they don't, you feel invisible. Over time, this dependency can suffocate the relationship. Jealousy and insecurity also become major problems. If you don't believe you're enough, you'll constantly fear losing your partner. Every unanswered text feels like a rejection. Every new person they meet feels like a threat. This kind of fear-based love pushes people away, even when all you want is to hold on. Another silent effect: lowering your standards. People with low self-worth often tolerate disrespect, emotional neglect, or even toxic behavior, just to avoid being alone. They mistake attention for love and accept less than they deserve, believing they won't find better. And then there's self-sabotage. When you don't see your own value, you might unconsciously push away people who actually care. You may overthink their words, assume the worst, or test them to prove their love without realizing you're creating the very distance you fear. But the good news, self-worth isn't fixed. It can be rebuilt, and that's exactly what we'll talk about next. Before we talk about how self-worth transforms relationships, let's focus on the most important part, how to rebuild it. The first step is self-awareness. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. Do you constantly criticize yourself? Do you feel like you're never good enough? These thoughts don't appear overnight. They are learned patterns. But the moment you recognize them, you can start changing them. Next, set personal boundaries. People with low self-worth often say yes to things they don't want, just to avoid conflict or rejection. But every time you ignore your own needs to please others, you reinforce the belief that their happiness matters more than yours. Start small, say no when you need to, walk away from disrespect, protect your energy. Another powerful tool, self-validation. Instead of relying on others to make you feel worthy, practice affirming yourself. Celebrate small wins, acknowledge your efforts, and remind yourself that you deserve love without needing to prove anything. Then, focus on personal growth. Build skills, develop hobbies, and set goals that have nothing to do with relationships. When you invest in yourself, you naturally start seeing your own value, because you're no longer waiting for someone else to define it for you. And finally, seek help if needed. Therapy, coaching, or even reading self-worth books can offer new perspectives. There's no shame in working on yourself. In fact, it's the greatest investment you'll ever make. And once you do, your relationships won't just improve, they'll transform. Before we end, let's take a moment to reflect. How do you see yourself? Because that answer shapes every relationship in your life. When you know your worth, you don't chase love, you attract it. You don't beg for respect, you command it. And most importantly, you stop looking for someone else to complete you, because you already feel whole. But self-worth isn't built in a day. It's a journey of unlearning old beliefs, setting new standards, and choosing yourself again and again. And the best part? The moment you start valuing yourself, the world around you starts changing too. If this video made you think, subscribe to Wise Wellness and join us in exploring more ways to build a stronger, healthier you. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.